Ah, Jacob.
Hello.
Hey,
Um, it just question came to my mind. Um, can you hear me well?
well,
Okay. Um, Even when there seems to be no person at all, there is just this awareness of everything and nothing at the same time. And yet there is still like a sense of individuality. How do you see this?
I was exploring with somebody a couple of days ago, and we were just talking about something similar. And so, as we were exploring, he said, "Oh, I can see that I've been identifying as consciousness."
Okay.
And so I said, "And yet, if you look, you can see that consciousness also comes and goes because we go to deep sleep and consciousness is gone." So consciousness appears in, we could say, awareness.
Mm-hmm.
From the perspective of consciousness, it can appear like there's individuality. Um, but it's also consciousness, when it's just really resting, then that individuality itself will fade away. But to the extent that there's an interpretation of um, the information that's coming in through the senses, which has been conditioned from very, very young, which gives like some sense of knowing. But when we really look deeper, we don't know. So, functional consciousness usually functions in the realm of knowing. Well,
Just
deeper than
just
that,
your knowing.
yeah. And or thinking
No,
we
no,
know
knowing of existence, you mean?
yeah, or thinking we know what's going on.
Okay.
I like this, I don't like that. This is what I'm trying to accomplish, goals and time and space. Like a baby doesn't have that. When consciousness arises, when they wake up, it's just curiosity. There's no goal, you could say, in that. There's just immediacy in everything. At the moment, I have some grandkids in the house, so I'm watching how it functions at that age. It's interesting because it's just immediate, yeah. And then there's a 4-year-old, and already you can see where there's been a shift, and it's not so immediate anymore. So deep sleep, we don't have any sense of time, of me, of anything. Senses wake up, there's information, and usually thinking kicks in. Where am I? What's going on? What's on my to-do list? And then just those few thoughts locate us in time and space, and some sense of memory kicks in. What am I doing today? What appointments have I made? What's going on there? Like now, at this moment, boundaries don't seem to be very existent. Time doesn't seem to be very existent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a little shift of focus and all of that stuff seems to be real, but if it comes and goes so quickly, it can't be. The training that most of us have received is that movement and being directional and all that is what life is about. And we haven't really been invited to rest and be the universe, be here. There's not much value placed on that in Western orientation. Western orientation is really turning everything into objects, like what's useful to me, what's not useful to me. Nature is just an object to be exploited. We're not communing with nature anymore, listening. We have this idea of dominating. Oh, then
Hi, Isaac.
you tell me.
Just a follow-up question. Are you using the terms consciousness and awareness to mean the same thing, or are you making a distinction?
The distinction. For me, it's like when we go to deep sleep, the senses aren't active anymore. So there's no input, so to speak. Like there's no body, no time, no space. But it's interesting we can say that. So somehow that awareness, or whatever we want to call that, from which consciousness arises, like this, the moment what we call waking up happens, that's what we call being conscious. The opposite of being unconscious, you could say. We're not aware of anything. The moment consciousness arises, that's where thoughts kick in. Dream state, there are thoughts, but deep sleep, there's nothing. So to me, consciousness is when the senses are active, when the possibility for thinking arises, and the possibility of identification arises. So it's interesting with this question, who are you? We can see not the body, not the thinking, not the feelings. We can point towards awareness, but very often that distinction between consciousness and awareness isn't made. So it's just like, consciousness arises and disappears. Yeah.
So can you speak to awareness?
Their language stops, actually. Language is, to me, seems to be in the realm of consciousness. There's like a deep resting where the senses are active, but there's not much involvement with interpreting what we're sensing.
So if awareness is, say, in the background,
Mm-hmm.
then would it be possible to say that the person that I'm consciously experiencing being is sort of in the foreground in a way
Yeah.
of awareness?
Yeah, that would be, we could say, really some identification with being someone.
But it's always fascinated me that I don't wake up tomorrow in somebody else's body.
Mm-hmm.
Continue to wake up in the same one. That's always been interesting.
So So it's interesting also to see, do we always wake up into the same personality or the same feeling sense of life, which clearly we don't.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's like um, there can be a waking up into like an immediate sense of stress, which is the habit of, I would say, most people on the planet today. It's like, what time is it? When do I have to get up? What's happening? And, some sense of pressure. Nothing right about it, nothing wrong about it. It's just interesting that where most of us find ourselves. And then you look at the indigenous cultures, if they haven't been westernized, they don't have that so much yet. It's like we speak of an activity called bodying as a body, but it's for sure it's a verb, it's not a noun, it's a activity, yeah? And then somehow there's been this idea that it's the body that is experiencing. But yet, if there's a
Yeah.
dead body, it doesn't seem to experience anything. So then it can't be the body that's experiencing it. We look, we can see that what we call the body is actually sensations to us, appearing in something we can't say what it is. And this body, for most of us, has felt kind of individual. It feels like it has borders. And yet, it's like once we take into account breathing, we can see that bodying doesn't exist without breathing. And so in that way, we can see this bodying just like a wave in the ocean is not separate from the ocean. It looks like an individual wave, but actually it's the ocean. So there's an expression of body which is not separate from totality at all, like a wave isn't separate from the ocean. And yet the capacity of somehow identifying with memory, with habits of perception, I once was reading, like a guy was trying to figure out by looking at historical records and old literature and all that, when the sense of I actually first really appeared in human expression. So the sense of I that most of us kind of wander around with these days hasn't always been an orientation. It's really, I mean, interesting to start to explore how much our perception has been conditioned. And yeah, so it's just
So even our way of experiencing is a habit.
absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah. Nothing right about any of it, nothing wrong about it. It's just like revealing itself in a certain sense. And like, okay, this deep question, who am I? Okay. There's a body activity happening, and most of it I have very little awareness of at all. It's just doing its thing, kind of. Then the habit to say my body, well, and the habit of perceiving that the body is separate from totality. It's like, I wonder when that crept in, it's like, and then, starting to have direct experience of when it gets really quiet and it's just presence and just see, wow, what a different sense of life that is than when there's stress and running and upset and functioning from lack and trying to get happy by accomplishment or something, It's just like,
As you were speaking, I experienced two things. One is remembering the moment when I saw my dad leave his body and just a body left, and how it was actually a sacred moment, a beautiful space. And then you were speaking more, and I play the flutes, bamboo flute, and I started to hear you speaking about the body and seeing myself pick up my flute in the morning and blow air into it, and it makes a beautiful sound. And just this experience of how we've somehow been able to blow air into this body, and we make more than sound. And when I put my flute back, yeah. I don't identify,
with it. Yeah. And it's so
with it.
interesting when you say my dad left his body. It's
Well,
like it's a way of speaking, I understand it, but then what is it that leaves? It's just like,
yeah.
well, we say I go to sleep. Well, what is it that actually happens there? It's like, it's like I don't really go anywhere. You know,
Mm.
it's, I remember, reading about this guy, Yuji Krishnamurti, who was not Jay Krishnamurti. This is a different guy who wanted to wake up, and then all of a sudden something happened to him, which he called a catastrophe. Because it's like the end of him. It's like that
Mm.
after that, if you took him somewhere and you left him, you'd come back a few hours later, he'd just be standing there. You know, it's like the whole orientation, it shifted. His whole body went through all kinds of stuff with as identifications were falling away. His body was also doing all this weird stuff. Anyway, he really considered it a catastrophe. When people would come see me, he would say, if you knew what you were really running after, you'd run the other way 1,000,000 miles. This is terrible. And yet when he spoke, there was this, I could call it a nectar, just of, but, no, so clear. There's no doing that can get you anywhere. There's no, who you are, you already are, just no techniques, no getting, no. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you. Mm. Mel just had her hand up, I think, Isaac.
Mel, can you wave your hand, please? Far up there. No, it's easy to see. Cool. Hi, Mel. Bottom left corner, there's a little bit. Yeah, you got it.
Hi.
Hey.
I think
Okay.
hi. I think you were speaking about UG, yes?
Mm.
Were you? The guy, the Christian, yeah. So the thought just came through, was he suffering with this calamity? I don't get that. Like, because, well, obviously I am not in, I don't know what I am, probably not very aware, but, well, I am. Anyway, there's some sort of question in there if you can decipher it. I don't know what the hell I'm saying.
No, I understand. It's like it reminds me of the conversation that Yogananda had with Ramana when he met Ramana, because Yogananda was world famous yogi, and he really wanted to make a difference for humanity. And so his question to Ramana was, what can we do to assist all the people that are suffering in the world? And Ramana's answer was cryptic in a certain way, but when you understand it, it's really deep. He said, find out who's suffering. Like, see if you can find the sufferer, actually. You can find the activity of suffering, but you won't find the sufferer. you'll find an activity going on that considers that they're suffering. So for me, I met Yuji when he came once to Byron. Someone brought him here, and I didn't sense any suffering in him, but who knows? Total
Thanks. So it's
productivity, just like, it's like just looking, if there was any sacred cows, he just had a go at it.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Mom. Oh, thanks. Cameron.
Isaac,
Hey.
that conversation between Yogananda and Ramana has played for me consistently.
Mm.
And the work that I engage in is, I work with UN agencies and sort of large scale organizations who you could say their focus is on the mitigation or elimination of human suffering. And I find a consistent challenge in the work, which is the knowing that there's no one suffering, and then the observation of the experience of suffering. And I can bring this back to myself. It's the same conversation, right? But like the thing that I'm particularly curious about is that over time, when I started doing this work was around the time that I met you. And so the distinction between those two things was very clear. There was, for me, I described it to people that I met in satsang as, well, this is just where the intellect wants to play. But there's also the recognition that, like, ultimately, there's no control.
Mm.
And over time, you go,
yeah,
sorry, you go.
It's interesting, we're here on a planet and there's a system of thinking that is not human friendly.
Mm.
And we see it. It's like, some people have so much and other people have nothing. And the system is set up to be that way. It didn't happen haphazardly. And then you get people wanting to make a difference, but not really addressing the root of it, which is the habit of attention that produces separation, that sees other. You could say, as long as it's good for me, if generations of other people have to suffer so that I can keep living well, I don't give a shit. It's like, and we can find that in all of us. It's not like anyone has the patent on that particular orientation. So we hear and we can see how there's been a conditioning around the sense of I, around what that is, who I am, and all that stuff. That plus the carrying of generational trauma, I would say it like that, where the system functions from an existential perspective. And it's, then we've had things like Christianity come along where it's trying to invite people to live a different way, and we see it hasn't really worked in terms of the world's just actually it just got corrupted, and that's the way everything gets corrupted in a way. But to me, it's just like in this inquiry that we're exploring, it's like something, there's a potential for something to open up that doesn't function in that old paradigm, that's all. Where something else is possible. I mean, you see these high Tibetan lamas, and they got imprisoned by the Chinese when China took over Tibet and tortured for years, and finally getting free. And then someone asking them, were you ever in real danger? And the answer is, yes, once I nearly lost compassion for the person who was torturing me. That's a different perspective, you could say.
A part of the challenge that I find and where it lands in this system is that the conflation, the confusion, right, between like what love pulls me to, which is this activity, and then the belief that arises that there is someone here to do something, there is someone who is suffering and something to be done about that suffering. And yet the activity, there's still the pull toward that activity. And typically the people that I work with are, I would say, profoundly compassionate, and in many cases, it's sloppy language, but in many cases, profoundly lacking in self-awareness, in the sense of like, there is a me and there is a them and there is someone who is suffering and there is an instigator or somebody who is causing suffering and there is a system that we need to do something about. And it's like, and there's a trap in that. And so how it is for me with this intellect is that it gets trapped, right, in this like, well, there's something to be done rather than just like, well, this is just what I feel pulled to do. And I will do this as long as I feel pulled to do it. But and I find that challenging to navigate. And over the
it's beautiful. I'd say, look, this inquiry is really taking you to the heart of something that's been playing in human consciousness forever, and like a deeper inquiry into it. Because, and it's interesting that life has taken you into that. You could say offering or function, and it's maturing as you're maturing with function. So you're in it with your heart, it's clear, and somehow you find yourself there with it, and through life's lessons and everything that's happening in you.
Because part of what I've noticed over the last several years, and like this was part of the drama of the relating, was that at one point I was told that if it comes to a choice, if you could make a choice between me and the work, you would choose the work, and that part of what I've observed in myself is this like from expansion to contraction, like such a profound contraction to the point of like, contracting to find my way through the eye of the needle, if you like, but like so contracted in this sense of like, there is a me and I am like, there is a me and I am suffering, right? And it's like going from like, there is no me and there is no one suffering to some pattern in me or patterns in me moving in such a way. And because I've been engaged with this work this entire time and working in this way this entire time, that the idea that it was real became real or seemed to become real and dominated everything. So looking out at the world, all that I could see was people suffering. And so all that I could see was there is a Cameron who is suffering. And that brought everything so tight in a way. And now, like, I find myself not expanding, I don't know, but like seeing something different. And yet tomorrow I start work again. And so tomorrow I start the phone calls and the emails and the planning and all of the things that I do. But there's also like this recognition of not wanting to get trapped in that idea again because of the incredible suffering that it engenders here, let alone anywhere else.
No, absolutely. Cool. So it's, I mean, how vulnerable, how naked, that's it. You're here. You're seeing where, like, patterns have played through you. You could say that were not clear, and even with the best of intention, cause difficulty in yourself. And obviously, wherever it goes, it does the same thing. And things are getting clearer. That's all. And you've got nothing to hold on to other than this love of this. It's far out. Thanks, Connor.
Thanks, Isaac.
Yeah. Really.
Hi. Mindset. What I heard, what you said in one conversation is that no technique can bring us there. So, in my experience, I use a lot of techniques, and somehow it seems like it's helpful because the body is changing in the brain by breathing techniques, something like that.
Who you are, you already are. So, what can be done to become more you?
Yeah, sometimes the body feels uncomfortable, and then it's a way to find more comfort in this
Yeah,
body.
so yes, so no problem with that. I mean, of course, yeah, you could say if there's discomfort in the body, I would say it would be very natural for movement to happen, or whatever's needed to bring some level of comfort. But what's that got to do with you? So exercise or good food could be in tune with this body, you could say. And then it's just like, this body, there's so many different ideas of what's good for it and what's not good for it. And but what we're talking about here is just a recognition, I would say, of who you are, who you've always been. If we look, what is it that obscures that? What?
Don't understand the word obscured. And
That hides that, who you are. Like to the sun, clouds don't mean anything. The sun is still the sun. Doesn't matter if there's clouds there or not. So thoughts, feelings, experience, they come and go. Who you are is, yeah, untouched, actually.
but you'd say also one shift of attention, everything changed in the
And yeah, of course, your experience will change. 100% your experience will change. But you, no. So the question is, are you your attention? Attention shifts all the time. Who are you?
so awareness is unknown and consciousness is changing.
You know, you can't really grasp with this with thinking. Laughing, maybe, not thinking. Anything that you can gain, you can lose. So it's useless. But what you really are, you cannot lose. How can you lose that?
I just can't believe the thought that it's lost.
Yeah, that's all. That's all. Just believe the thought. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rishi. Come on.
Hello, Isaac.
No, come on.
I would like to ask you about pain. Today it came up for me very strongly, and I was exploring this. It is not physical pain, and I think it is not emotional pain. It feels probably as energetic pain, as if something like the very center of your being is hurting, something like this. And before, actually, it came up, I experienced it for many years. And before, I was thinking that it was because of some situations, some people which hurt me. But today, I suddenly realized that this is something like different, that those situations, they triggered this pain, but they didn't create it. Because I did a lot of psychological work, and my perception is now different, and sort of psychological suffering was removed. But this pain is kind of like existential pain. I don't understand what it is. Yeah, so I guess I have two questions around this. Like, do you know what is this phenomenon? And is there any way to not experience this pain, or is it just part of the system somehow? I don't know.
It's actually a big conversation, but it's like the field that we live in, like of all the humans, the human expression on the planet, what would the frequency be of the human condition at the moment on the planet?
A lot of pain.
A lot of pain, yeah. And some of us are more sensitive than others. I mean, I think it was not Freud, the other guy.
Jung?
Jung,
Young.
he recognized that there were quite a few people that were very sensitive and really struggled with it. They really could feel what was going on. And he didn't see it as a condition, but more like the result of this sensitivity. So, it's like, so for most people, when they feel that level of pain, which is profound, I mean, it's like when you feel into what's going on in the human realm, it's profoundly, you could call it painful. Yeah.
Heavy, yeah.
To the extent that it's taken personally, that we think it means something about ourselves, rather than like, if you walk out in the rain, you get wet. We don't question it. We don't say, oh, why am I wet? But here we are, we're in the field, the energetic field, we're feeling everything. So to me, it's like, is it possible to experience what's going on deeply, fully, without taking it personally, without jumping over it, But you see, it's like, to me, it's like we've got the earth and we've got the human component, and then we're a tiny little speck, and galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies upon galaxies. It's like, how big a field do we want to tend to? It's just like, so I don't know what happens to sadness when it gets, everything gets included, but it doesn't seem like much in my system. It's just like, okay, thin little informational layer. Doesn't have much to do with me or anything, actually. What you were calling pain before, how does it seem now? Because we didn't try and change anything, just maybe seeing it from a slightly different angle.
No, it was lifted as soon as they came to satsang instantly. But I was curious because I kind of had this expectation that if I work on myself psychologically, I do all this work and then this pain will be gone. But today I clearly realized that yes, a lot of things changed in my mind, but this pain is like something different. Not 1% of it shifted, like not 1%. And I also had a clear memory today that like a very big spiritual experience happened to me. First time, it was a long time ago, maybe 20 years, like an explosion of consciousness and love. And it was like, it just erased my previous life in a moment. But soon after this experience, I started feeling this pain, and it lasted first 2 years. It was like so strong, like I couldn't like stop it. And I had actually no bad situations in my life. Nothing bad was happening. So this pain was not caused by anything. And today I suddenly remember that I was feeling this before. So it is actually not caused by anything like personal. But still, you said now that this is collective field. And I don't know, because it feels as if like the center of my being like is cracking. Like it feels like it's me, something with like something to do with me. But I don't know.
Yeah, so that's worth exploring. I mean, I went through quite a phase where it felt like my heart was breaking, constantly breaking, but like I could feel that it wasn't breaking shut, it was breaking open. And so for me, that was like, okay, that's interesting, because somehow the capacity to be able to feel everything that's happening it's like to me, in my mind, I described it as my heart breaking open, but I guess everyone might use different words. It was terribly painful, but at the same time, feeling like it was a good pain. You know how when you get massaged and somebody's really good and it hurts so good? I don't know.
You know what you said just now is interesting because to me, energetically, it feels as if something is trying strongly to contract, like a contraction and like prison. But as soon as I came to satsang, it's like expansion happened and it just expanded. This contraction, it expanded.
Yeah. You know,
So maybe
I'd say that almost inevitably, when there's some strong sensations, something kicks in that wants to get away from them. And that's what actually causes the pain, is they're trying to get away from it. So you could call it resistance. So to me, it's like, here we are, there's this moment of sensations, it's just information. And it's like, we live in a field of information and it's huge, yeah. So, the tendency is to interpret the sensations of now and relate it to a sense of me, which you could say is the conditioning or the habit. It's worthwhile just seeing what that is, if it's necessary or useful. Or...
So could it be like something, speaking like a dark force, because something part of the system tries to expand and to evolve, but the other part is like trying to squeeze like back into the shell, like this resistance. Really, it feels like resistance. This word you said is very accurate, but I don't understand like resistance to what.
Ultimately, there's just the sensation of now. And some sensations, usually how it happens is that the sensations get interpreted almost instantaneously through the filter of our conditioning and trauma. So then we end up with the perception like, oh, this is painful. That would already be a perception. The direct experience of the sensation of burning or heart breaking open or whatever, the direct experience of that is almost indescribable. We try and find words to describe it, but
Indescribable pain. Thank you so much.
yeah. You know, the fact that it can just disappear so quickly shows you it's not real.
Yeah, but it takes your powerful presence. I cannot lift it myself for some reason.
There isn't a you and a me, actually. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Hello, Isaac. Um, while investigating this, there's something coming up that I could see. It's actually fear. What is the issue? Yeah, that's how it feels here. It's like, as you say, that's like if something feels like pain, then something clicks in with thoughts and then the resistance. But in general, it's like whatever happens, that's how it feels. Whatever happens, if there is this opening in satsang, so to say, then there is no fear.
Mm.
So it's like either you used to say this, it's like either living like that or living like that. But this living like that, that's kind of where the fear clicks in. So
Yeah,
for
for
me,
sure.
that's like this biggest issue. Doesn't matter what, everything is totally at ease. Also pain and everything's totally at ease. But that moment when something like fear clicks in, so that's to me, in a way, the biggest issue of the entire world that we're living in. If there was the freedom of fear somehow, not no the condition of just living in free of fear and this feeling, there would be no war on anything. There would be nothing actually happening like that. So
If we slow it down, what is fear?
exactly, it is that contraction in a way
Mhm.
based on an
And
idea.
trying to stop something from happening, trying to stop.
Yeah, that illusion that you are able to stop something from
Exactly.
happening.
Exactly.
But in a way, fear is also like an instinct of protection. It comes together. So it's something so built in every cell or in the
And you know
organism.
what's so amazing with it? I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in a car accident and the car's rolling and there was zero fear.
Yeah,
Zero.
because somehow that's also interesting. I mean, it's a bit like giving birth also, like you're in
Yeah.
the middle of what, it's like really existential actually at some point. And in a way, it's like, yeah, then there comes this, but often it feels a bit dissociated then. I have the feeling also when suddenly it's unreal almost what's happening. It's so intense that it's unreal. Also, car accident, it's so intense that it's like unreal. Then it's suddenly like a clear, not attached to anything, sort of. It's
Yeah,
freedom.
it's such an interesting phenomenon. It's like, right now there's a bunch of people visiting, and one guy's afraid of spiders, another one's afraid of snakes. And it's like, and I could look at it and go, okay, somehow I see a spider and it doesn't register as fear to me. It's just life living itself in that form,
Mm.
or a snake or something like that. And it's we could say it's
Yeah.
instinctive in a way, but in another way, it's like,
It's always also bound to an idea because if
yeah,
you don't have an idea about a spider, it's like a
yeah,
little child. You cannot be
yeah,
afraid.
yeah.
Also small children can also be afraid of spiders without an idea. Maybe it is a bit of an instinct. Some things they
Or
protect you.
old trauma or something, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean somehow life is built in something that does tell you when the house is burning, get out, or it's like that is something to be grateful for. But most of the times the idea is actually in the way, and then there's this fear, yeah, which is also with pain the same thing. I saw that when there is huge pain in my system, in this system here,
Mm.
there is also a lot of space for it then. But if it suddenly gets really intense, the pain, then there comes in fear because there is a thought, now this is too much. Only because of that thought.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was also this opening when I saw I am not the container. I don't even contain this huge pain. There is no one to contain it. So that was when it was clear it can get as big as it wants because there is no container or no boundaries in a way. Yeah. And that was actually the opening from investigating fear. That with this feeling of fear, there comes the idea that there is someone to contain it, and to contain anything, you know. So otherwise, it's just endless, and there can't be a tension then. And if there's no tension, there cannot be fear, actually, or something like that, physically.
Something like that. Yeah.
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 It's very interesting. Yeah. And it's very, I think it was the biggest issue, this fear thing. It's almost like that was a life issue in my life. So it's beautiful that that was also the biggest gift when it opened up. And still, you know, there's not the idea that this would ever end. Also, with that kind of mechanism. But since it's seen, it's also it's also allowed to be there. This when it clicks in with this pain or fear, it's also it's just something that is coming up. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Totally.
Hello, beloved.
Pete.
Thank you for this session, Isaac. Yeah, don't want to take much time. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. I'm not sure who was the host tonight. Was it you, Blas? No. Who was the... Oh, Andrea. Well, thanks, Andrea. And thank you, beloveds. Love, peace, beauty.